yourself in, so to speak, harm's way, where it is going to be unbelievably uncomfortable. And I'll close with this. If you're going to go for it this year in 2024 with something, people say a lot of time, step one is the hard part, just jumping into the water. That's not the hard part. Step two is consistently jumping into the deep water. Peter. Ladies and gents, this podcast is going to be probably a short one, but hopefully you'll be able to learn from my mistakes, and I want to pass on you could say, I suppose, maybe I'm hard on myself, where I've fucked up in my past. Fucked up, wasted a lot of time. In fact, yeah, let's take it on the chin here on this one. Wasted a lot of time about why we should never, ever let anyone judge us, or what we think that they're judging us, or why we should give a fuck about what anybody thinks, except your parents. Now, I understand with your parents, it can be a very, very fragile thing. But if you really want to do something, you fucking go get it. Go get the fucker. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. Well, you might have a New Year's resolution. Now, I did a podcast on this only just a few days ago here, okay? Or you might have some, not even a resolution, maybe even more than that. A more serious thing you want to do. So it could be you want to start a new career. You want to do, fuck it, what I'm doing. You want to do your own social media channel. It could be God knows what. Okay? So maybe I can offer some guidance here. I hope I can. Now, many of you may or may not know, I used to be a race car driver. Now, for a while after the racing, I was trying different careers, different this, different that. And then I came out with on YouTube, probably, I don't know, it was really before YouTube really got kicking off. And all of a sudden, I started acting like a bit of a fucking moron on it, okay? Like, genuinely, a moron. And people were laughing at it. And then all it took was one person to say to me, oh, Peter, you're embarrassing us, like. Okay? I'm not going to mention that person is, but I know them very well. And that just absolutely fucking ruined me. Now, we're going back maybe 15 years here now, okay? And I was even one of these people that I was even posting videos on YouTube 15 years ago or whenever it was, okay? So if anything, if I kept going back in the day, God knows where I could be right now. 15 years later, God only knows. Of course, I mightn't have got anywhere, right? But, you know, these things fuck with your head because you just don't know. And especially when you don't go for it, like, it's always take the risk, take that fucking chance. Should I go for it? Should I not? And sometimes it fucks with my head still to this day. Even thinking about it, doing this podcast right now, it's like, oh my God, it's all coming back up again. God alive. Aches me. And where could I be right now? You know? Maybe, I don't know. Actually, I don't know. And in many ways, I don't want to think about it because at least, you know, look, enough of the pain here. But I've enough pain. And I think in one way, you see, we can flip this around here, guys, right? For me, and if you're in the same scenario here where you've thought about something and, oh, fuck, I should have done it, this or that or whatever, or somebody put you off. Let's look at this. Let's look at this here, okay? Somebody didn't put me off when they said, oh, Peter, you're embarrassing us, like. They didn't put me off. I put myself off. Now, I came from a world of racing, okay? I had respect from a lot of people, a lot of drivers, a lot of teams. It was all I knew. And it's very hard to explain to a lot of people. Very, very hard, okay? So please give me a bit of rope on this one, guys. When the racing stops, the music stops. And all of a sudden, it's in many ways, it might sound depressing. It's not exactly this, but it's many ways it feels like there's an empty shell because you're not competing. Now you're not succeeding, driving, determined, focused, committed. And you lose yourself for a while, or maybe even the right word would be you don't know who the fuck you are. And I think a lot of racing drivers struggle with this because, yes, you get to know yourself in many ways when you're a race car driver because you find out that you've got, well, number one, to succeed, you need balls. Okay? You need confidence. You need commitment. And just staying power. Like these are four, I don't know, I'm only just literally shooting off my cuff here at the top of my head, but they're very, very important fucking traits you need to have. So you do learn a lot about yourself in that way. But the problem is, take yourself out of that equation where you're not competing. Okay, because you see, at the end of the day, there's a reward factor here. If I commit myself here to something, I'll get a reward. It's like closure on the deal, right? Kind of like going into a restaurant, you ask for food and you're hoping for it comes. Oh, and here it comes. Bang, you feel better. There's closure on the deal. You asked something, you went for it, you got it. I know it's probably a weird comparison, but still, bear with me here. But what if the food doesn't come to the table? What if it doesn't? Then you're just sitting there left in the dark going, well, what the fuck's going on with my food here? Like, hello? You know what I mean? So, and guys, for me, I was trying to find myself. I got very confused. I was fucked up in my head to many degrees, and I didn't realize I was actually fucked up. I just needed to actually, what I needed to do was experience normal life. Like, a lot of people think racing cars and racing driving is glamorous and it's this and it's that. There's part of it, yes. But you take yourself out of that scenario, oh my God. You have to find yourself, and it takes many fucking years. I'm still trying to figure out who the fuck I am. I'm getting so much better these days. It's unbelievable. And, you know, this is why I love doing these podcasts, because in many ways for me, I find it very therapeutic trying to help others. Because it also brings out a good trait in you that, hey, you're trying to help other people. It feels good. It makes you realize that you can be a good person, you know? I'm not saying that I've always thought I was a bad person. No. Maybe subconsciously I have, but I don't think so. But either way, you might be going through something yourself, guys, where you don't know yourself. You've come out of a big, long relationship or divorce or something, and you're trying to find yourself again. Believe me, I can relate to you. I don't know how intensely, how extreme, or how close they are. You know, my situation versus someone else's doesn't matter. That's not the point. Okay? They are two different situations, but I can relate. And the best way I did was to jump in at the fucking deep end. I know, what's the secret sauce here, Peter? No, just jumping into the deep end and not even being good, just constantly not giving up is one big one. I mean, guys, I remember when I started the social media a few years ago, I hit a shitty point in Corona lockdown, like a real rock bottom. It's like, okay, what the hell are you doing with your life, man? You got to get this shit together. And I said, I've got to do something. So I started the TikTok, and it went very well at the start. It went very, very well. But then for some reason, right, you see, I felt okay about TikTok because my friends weren't on it, right? People I knew that weren't on it. And I still had this fucking fear of being judged and, oh God, oh God, oh God, everybody's going to laugh about me. Now, the problem was that came from the root when I was in just after racing. I didn't know my identity. And then I made that video. People were laughing. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. And then all of a sudden, TikTok was okay. So I was away from everybody, right, in my head. Then people started to notice, and I kind of got a bit nervous. I was like, oh my God. And I was just dreading people judging. I still went for it because I hit the rock bottom in Corona. I went, fuck this. Enough. We're done. We're done fucking bullshitting about why we give a shit. Okay? Or thinking that we should give a shit what other people think. Crazy shit. But even so, when I got to TikTok, then I said, okay, I need to start going on Instagram. And I swear to God, guys and girls, because Instagram, I know people on there, right? I'm in Ireland. I've got buddies on there. We're all connected. We're all following each other. Then if I started doing my videos on there, it's like, oh my God, now it's really getting real. And I swear to God, I'll never ever forget this overwhelming, intense stress, heart in the mouth, in the throat, almost puking stress when I put up my first video on Instagram. I'll never forget it. In fact, I even remember what movie I was watching at the time. And this was, 3 years ago? And I just sat there and closed my eyes and just accepted what I was feeling. And I started breathing through it, and it was an overwhelming stress. It was incredible. I just, like I said, I don't want to go on too much. I can't even explain it. And I said, Peter, the only way through not giving a fuck anymore is to keep doing it over and over again. And not just that. The secret ingredient here to not giving a fuck is by giving a fuck at the start and keep doing it over and over and over and over again. It's like getting beaten up. If you're scared of the schoolyard bully, that they're going to kick the shit out of you someday, and you keep avoiding them, this and that. Well, if you get the shit kicked out of you, then the bully, let's say, kicks the shit out of you the next day, then the next day, then the next day, then the next day. Do you really think that you're going to be scared every single day after that? No, you're not. You're going to get used to it. That's what you have to do. It's kind of, I even did a podcast on this before about facing fears and sucking it all up, right? But that's what I did. I went, Peter, this is where it's going to be tough now. You're going to have to get used to people ripping you the fucking shreds on social media or God knows anywhere. Get used to it. Take it like it's fucking food poison. Sorry. You eat it, you feel sick. Oh God, okay. Well look, I have to build a tolerance. So that's what it's about. Building a tolerance. So it's not just about doing it once, guys. You have to keep repeating it. Build a fucking tolerance when people start judging you. Because I'm telling you, and I can promise you this, I can genuinely, hand on my heart, put my hands in the air, and I will say to you this. If you are one of these people that is holding back because you're afraid of judgment, the best way, and you will, mark my words, get through it, if you go for it and you suck up the punches on social media or whatever you're doing every single day, I can guarantee you'll get used to it where you'll start to feel invincible when it comes to this stuff. I guarantee you that. Because it's like anything else. You eat the food poison, right? You're going to feel sick at the start. Now, you eat that the next day. Oh, you feel sick, yeah. Then you keep doing it. You'll feel a little less sicker. And it will bring you to your fucking knees, right? You might be in your bed for a month every night crying your eyes out to sleep. And eventually, believe me guys, you will just throw in the towel and you won't give a fuck anymore. That was the only way I got through it. And I think a lot of people, before we go through some here bullet points, hopefully to try and help you guys, right, to get through it, just before we get on to that, it's, what am I trying to say? It's kind of slipped my mind. It's just going through it constantly. And just accepting for maybe a month. Maybe it could be really, really rough for a month. Making sure step one is doing it once. That's not the hard part. The hard part is continuously doing it every day, every day, every day, every day. Now that's the tough part, guys. And that's what you got to go through. You know, and believe me, you will create thick skin, because I had the thinnest skin you'd ever fucking see in your life only about 10 years ago. Like really thin. Now, I was vulnerable after racing, and, you know, I'm trying to know who the fuck I am, and I'm getting confused because people are actually having goes off me now, right? Okay, and I'm like, what? Like, I was used to signing autographs on kids' hats and their fucking t-shirts. And all of a sudden, people, what's going on here? And it fucking humbles you. Now, here's the other thing. For those people that will, quote, judge you, let's break it down, okay? So that's my story, right? I am just like a lot of people, very sensitive. But here's one thing, maybe you should think about, right? Maybe you actually, subconsciously now, maybe you actually don't give a fuck. And you feel guilty that you don't give a fuck. Therefore, you create these images and thoughts that you do give a fuck. And that's why you're putting up a front. Now, for me, it wasn't, because I was just extremely confused, right? But I know this type of psychology, what I'm just saying to you about that maybe you don't give a fuck. I know this type of psychology because I've studied it and I've seen it in different scenarios. Now, for me, it wasn't the case. I was just very confused, couldn't know what the fuck's going on. Identity crisis almost, okay? But I'm working through it. And for you guys, think about this. Maybe you are one of these people, right, that you think you give a fuck. Now, let's say you've met someone in your life, right? Recently, a couple of years ago or whatever. And, you know, somebody said that, oh, you know, see that John guy there. I'm always saying John, but let's just go with John. And, oh, John, you know, he just doesn't give a shit what anybody thinks. Right? And then somebody says, oh my God, that's just terrible. And yet you might not know the whole story. And that for some reason, with you not really even realizing, subconsciously now, you've judged John as oh God, he's a bastard. And it could have been all based on bullshit. Somebody was just jealous of John because he doesn't give a fuck, or John was succeeding and the other person didn't want him to succeed, and therefore they'd just say anything about John to try and take him off the fucking mountain. And it was all based on crap. But for some reason, subconsciously, you just believe that person for a split second. And it went straight into the back of the head, and that's why you went, oh my God. So now you're thinking that people who don't give a fuck are assholes because of John back in the day. Right? It could be as simple as that, guys. Like, even go back to and try and find a root of a problem. If you think there is a problem, find the John, so to speak, and did you judge him, or did you kind of go, oh my God, yeah, he must be an asshole, so. Now, John could easily be an asshole, but it doesn't mean that, oh, because I don't give a fuck, that doesn't mean that if you don't give a shit, you're automatically an asshole, for fuck's sake. John just could be an asshole. Go back in time. Go there. See if you can find your John. Now, so basically, you could have had this childhood memory of John. Automatically, John equals dickhead because he doesn't give a shit. Then growing up, you've always had this in your head. And therefore, automatically, you have that, right? Now, that's cool. Okay. I understand that we can all have these kind of things when we're kids, right? But maybe you actually don't give a fuck. Like, maybe if that situation never happened where somebody commented on John and that never happened, maybe you actually would have gone on and do what you want to do now but you're not doing. Maybe you would have done that years ago because you don't give a shit. But the fact that somebody said that John is a dickhead because he doesn't give a fuck, that it stayed in your head, it fucked you, and it sent you on a different path. And this can be it's a millisecond of a fucking thought. I mean, it's unbelievable the way our minds fuck with us, including mine, by the way. I'm no fucking angel here. Do you know what I mean? That's why I'm always trying to be self-aware with things, you know? And so therefore, back to the real point here. So therefore, you don't want to be like John because you think John is evil. So therefore, you then create these fucking grand fucking ideas that, oh, well, anybody that does that is an asshole. Right? But actually, underneath it all, you don't give a shit. But you've created these fucking memories, or you've created these situations from John back in the day, or you just, I don't know, you just decided, oh, well, you know, or maybe you're fearful. Maybe you're scared of taking the risk, but you're genuinely actually using it as an excuse, but you actually do want to do it. I hope I'm making sense here. I feel like I'm kind of going off the beaten path here. I hope I'm making sense. I shouldn't be allowed on my goddamn podcast anymore. Oh my God. Okay. Excuse me, guys. So this is the point. We'll sum it up. In the back of your mind, you actually don't give a fuck. You don't give a shit what anybody thinks. That makes you feel that, oh my God, I'm a sociopath, I'm evil, I'm this and that. That makes you feel guilty to feel that way. And that guilt, then, you want to get rid of that guilt. So therefore, consciously then, you then create these scenarios like, oh, I'm not going to be like John, or I'm not going to be like anybody else out there. Okay, that's just wrong. And, oh, I'd be scared to be judged by people. Do you know, there's no way I want that. No way. No way. And you've actually created these bullshit thoughts. Hopefully that helps, guys. Now, here's the other thing. Do you think that anybody that judges you in anything that you do in your life, do you think that they sit up at night, tossing and turning in bed, having a sleepless night, or even a sleepless week, thinking about your scenario and what you're doing, and waking up with a nightmare after they fall asleep, and then screaming out your name and crying their eyes out, and the wife wakes up and going, geez, are you okay, Peter? No, I'm not okay. Mary's like, she's just, I can't believe what she's doing. It's incredible. Do you really think that anyone has ever once, apart from your mum or your father, okay? We'll have that exception, all right? Do you really think that they've had a sleepless night over you once? I bet you all the money in the world they have in their shit had one millisecond of lack of sleep because of you. Now, let's move on to the other one. There's one exception. Maybe, and this is another scenario here, maybe they actually have had a sleepless night over you because, right? Not because they judge you and they're really worried about you. No, it's because they're actually trying to knock negative, toxic crap into you because they're competing against you. They don't want you taking the limelight. So therefore, they will actually have sleepless nights. But it's not because you know the way, guys, Peter, I wouldn't be doing that now. I'd be afraid now what could happen to you or this or that. Oh, really? You're that concerned for me? Like, that's where I'm getting there now, guys, with the sleepless nights, right? You know? Like, people go on and on, like, really, Peter, you want to do that? Like, and they look all concerned. They aren't. They're fuck concerned. They don't give a shit at the end of the day. They're not going to have a sleepless night over you. That's what I mean. Now, there's the other side of that coin here. Maybe they are having sleepless nights over you for the other reason. They want to compete against you, or they want all the attention on themselves. They want all the attention on themselves. That's maybe a big one here. They want to knock you off the fucking mountain. Okay? Sometimes you can't compete against the guy going up the mountain to try and get to the top. Well, what do some dickheads do? Instead of trying to overtake you and get to the top first and being better, they'll just knock you off. Then they can stroll back up the mountain. So I would be very, very careful, guys. Especially the people that look really concerned for you. Now, unless it's your mother or your father, okay, well then maybe have a think about it, but I still wouldn't stop what you're doing, okay? But maybe, be open-minded to your parents. I would totally understand that people would be like that. But anyone else, brothers, sisters, cousins, uncles, aunts, friends, strangers, acquaintances, who gives a fuck? Seriously. Because you don't know what their angle is. And it's the people that come all... these are the real ones to watch out for, guys, okay? Like I said, excluding your parents, the people that are really concerned for you, they have this worried look in their face. Now, unless you do something like unbelievable, let's say on social media, where you plant a bomb in a building and you record it and put it up on fucking social media, shit like this, that's a different story, of course. But we're talking about just the other stuff, the normal stuff, right, in social media. If they come to you really concerned, never take what they offer you. Never take what they offer you. Because the enemy will always try and hand you something that can blow up in your fucking hands and face. You got to be very, very careful of the concerned people. Okay? Why are they that concerned? They're not going to lose sleep tonight. They're just not. It's as simple as that. So, guys, and we'll end with this last one. I think, yeah, we've said enough on the one today. The people that do come to you, that are saying, "Oh, Peter, what are you doing? This and that," right? All of the above. They're not going to lose sleep. They could be trying to compete against you, but a lot of the time too, they're projecting their own bullshit on you, because if they're judging themselves, that's the only way you know what judging is. If people judge, if let me say that again, simple English. The only way you know what judging is if you've judged yourself already. So therefore, they're projecting their own shit on you. Yeah, you might have done some weird dance or something on TikTok, or, I'm giving you an example here, right? But they've judged themselves about something else, and they feel the pain still. I'm telling you guys, the people that I would trust in these scenarios are the people that come up, "Peter, what the fuck you up to, man? Come here, hilarious, man. Seriously, hilarious." It's the people that try and stop you from doing what... Here, Peter, seriously, man, you should stop what you're doing here, honestly. Now, then there's some people that are very, very clever. And then they say, "Oh, man, that's really, really good. That's awesome shit what you're doing, man." Because they want you to keep continuing making a fool out of yourself if you're making a fool out of yourself. Now, again, look, that's a totally different scenario here. But if you really want something, guys, and you think you've got something useful or whatever you want to do, don't let any asshole out there stop you. That should be your new resolution. Put yourself in the shit. Put yourself in, so to speak, harm's way, where it is going to be unbelievably uncomfortable. And I'll close with this. If you're going to go for it this year in 2024 with something, people say a lot of time, step one is the hard part, just jumping into the water. That's not the hard part. Step two is consistently jumping into the deep water. Step 2, doing it over and over and over and over and over again. Guys, I love you lot. I will see you again. Cheers.
Peter.
Walsh.